So, we were discussing about the air section bar, and now in this session we shall discuss the another part of that unit, that is the respiration through the skin, respiration through the skin. So, these are some extra device for respiration. So, what is respiration through skin? So, we know the fishes are able to survive outside the water. You just think, whenever one fish is coming out from the water, it is living or not? It is living. So, it is respiring. How it respires? The common eel, for example, angula, can travel by wriggling on damp grass, though it has no special respiratory organ, but it has vascular area in the skin by which it can breathe both in water and in land. Okay? In amphibians, the moist skin is highly vascular. In case of longless, that is the longless, there is no lung in case of salamander, they respire only through the skin. Their larvae loses gill at the metamorphosis, and lungs do not develop in adults. And African male hairy frog that has vascular hairy cutaneous outgrowth which act as respiratory surface. So, in this session what I want to say, that means some animals are there, that means some vertebrates are there, they are respiring through their skin. That I gave some example, but the most important one is the frog, because the frog is able to respire through the skin. So, this type of respiration in case of frog is also known as cutaneous respiration, cutaneous respiration, because we know in case of frog the larvae possess external gill. So, during their staying in water, the external gill of larva helps in respiration. But in case of adult, although there is pulmonary system or they respire by pulmonary or they respire by lungs, still most of the part they actually remain in water, so that they also respire by skin, not by gill, because during metamorphosis the gill has lost. So, what happens? The skin of how it is conducted, the skin of frog is important organ of respiration. The frog, due to amphibious mode of life, passes most of the time in water, and during this period the skin only serves in adult as organ of respiration. Similarly, when the frog undergoes summer sleep, that is known as estivation due to its cold blooded nature, and winter sleep, that is known as hibernation, the skin is the only organ of respiration, because they do not use lungs at that time. Okay? So, now how it happens? The skin of frog is very much suited for the respiratory function, because it is very thin, it is richly supplied with blood capillaries and remains moist with the water and also mucus secreted by its mucous gland. So, during gaseous exchange, you just imagine, for example, this is the skin. So, for example, this is the skin of the frog. So, now this is the skin, you see. So, this skin always remain moist. This is the skin and this skin always remain moist, and these are the, for example, blood capillaries. Okay. So, the blood capillaries are present beneath this beneath the skin, and this skin is first of all, this is thin, and this is again mucus or mucous glands are present, so that this remains the moist due to mucus. Okay. So, now whether this is in water or this is in terrestrial medium, what happens? Whenever air comes in contact with this one, for example, this is air. So, when air comes in contact with that of the moist skin, at that time the air remains or the air dissolve against this skin surface due to its moist nature. So, now you see this side having the air rich in oxygen, and this side, this is the blood capillaries. So, this is the blood capillaries. So, now you see the blood capillaries which are present just beneath the skin, they are rich in carbon dioxide. So, now this mucous membrane, that means this moist membrane, is providing a surface for exchange of oxygen to this side and carbon dioxide to this side. Okay. So, this is all about the mechanism of cutaneous respiration, just this is present in this diagram. So, the skin of frog is very, so what is the text of this one or how can you write. So, the skin of frog is very much suited for respiration function as it is very thin, richly supplied with blood capillaries and remain moist due to the presence of water or due to mucus. So, during gaseous exchange the oxygen first dissolves in the moisture present over the body or the present over the skin and then diffuses into the blood circulating in the blood capillaries. Then while the resultant carbon dioxide passes out from the blood into the surrounding medium, that may be the water or that may be air. If it is water, then this is by diffusion and this is terrestrial medium, simply go through evaporation. In cutaneous respiration no movement are needed, no movement of the organ or itself, because the skin always remain exposed to the air. So, at any area this type of respiration can be conducted. So, most of the time in case of the frog this is the way for respiration, because you know during winter this frog hibernate and during summer this frog undergoes estivation. So, most part of the year they actually breathe by this system. Okay, this is known as cutaneous respiration. So, this is all about the cutaneous respiration. So, now I shall cover the last part of this unit, that means the respiratory system. I am covering the respiratory system, and in this system I have already covered detail about the respiratory system, then I have also covered the skin and air sac. Now come to the last question of this unit, that is the accessory respiratory organ. Okay. So, now just we shall discuss. So, what is the accessory respiratory organ? So, what is accessory? So, for example, I have some organ for performing a particular what or particular work or particular my one organ is performing a particular function. If another one is helping this organ, then this is known as accessory. So, accessory means this is one additional structure which actually help the main function or which actually helping the or performing the main function. So, generally adult fishes depend chiefly on pharyngeal gill for aquatic respiration. Okay. Generally the adult fishes depend chiefly on pharyngeal gill for respiration. However, other devices also occur to supplement or replace the gill respiration. Although they are respiring by gill, still in them some extra structures are there which are supplementing them supplementing the respiration or replace the gill respiration. That means along with the gill respiration they can take the shelter of this type of respiration, or whenever the gill respiration is defunct, at that time or when they are in harsh and crash condition, at that time they can use or they can take the shelter of this type of respiration. So, all such additional respiratory organs other than the gills are known as accessory respiratory organ. Okay. The development of accessory respiratory organ is found mostly in freshwater fishes of tropical region and very rarely in marine fishes. Okay. And accessory respiratory organ in fishes actually help to live in oxygen deficient water, to estivate over prolonged drought in dry summer, and even to take excursions on land or simply to meet extra demand of oxygen. So, what are the function? So, first one, so this type of accessory respiratory organ will help them to live in oxygen deficient water, to estivate over a prolonged drought, to excel the prolonged drought in summer, that is due to the insufficient of water, to take excursion on land, to go from one place to other, short excursion, or simply to meet extra demand of oxygen. Okay. So, now what are the structures? Now we shall see what are the additional structures or what are the accessory organs found in fishes. So, the first one is skin or integument. So, this is the first one. So, accessory respiratory organ, and now I shall discuss one by one which are the accessory respiratory organs. So, this is accessory respiratory organs, and especially they are found in fishes. Okay. So, what are they? The first one is skin or integument, skin. Okay. So, in eel, you see in eel that is anguilla that is known also the angula or also amphinous cuchia eel, and also periophthalmos and also boreophthalmos. The skin is highly vascular and serves for exchange of gases as in frog. When the fish is out of water, okay, when the fish is out of water, at that time the moist skin is providing the surface for exchange of gases, that means environmental oxygen or environmental air can enter to the blood capillaries and carbon dioxide from the blood capillaries come out. So, these fishes habitually leave the water. So, the fishes which are using the skin or integument as the accessory respiratory organ, they are habitually frequently leave the water and migrate from the place to another through damp vegetation. So, whenever they are passing through the damp vegetation, at that time they actually out of water, so that the skin act as respiratory organ in that time. During this period, what happens? The moist skin serves as an important organ in respiration. Again, they can respire cutaneously both in air and even in water. Okay, so they can respire by gill whenever they are present in water, but in additional to that, they can also get oxygen through the skin. So, this is all about the skin or integument. And second is the buccopharyngeal epithelium. This second device, that is known as buccopharyngeal. So, this is the buccopharyngeal epithelium. So, this is also one organ. So, you know, buccal cavity is having the line, or buccal cavity having the lining. So, in case of some fishes, what happens? The buccopharyngeal cavity, which is lined by epithelial membrane, okay, is usually highly vascular. Even the pharynx is also highly vascular, and this is permeable to gases in water. Okay. So, it may remain simply or may develop folds, pleats or tongues, okay, projecting into the buccal cavity and pharynx to make it an efficient respiratory organ. So, you just think, so buccal cavity, so if this is the buccal cavity, you see, so buccal cavity is a lining. So, this lining is highly vascular. So, whenever this will open the mouth, at that time the air will come in contact with this one, so that this air having the oxygen will enter into the blood capillaries present just beneath the membrane of the buccal cavity, and carbon dioxide from that capillary will come out. So, this is the device, or this is one type of device for respiration. This is also known as accessory respiratory organ. Okay. So, in case of some fishes, this buccal cavity may remain simple, or it may also project into pleats or folds or tongue like projections, which can provide more and more surface area for the gas exchange. Okay. Now, come to the next one. The third one is the gut epithelium. So, gut epithelium, that means the gut, we know, this is the alimentary canal. The epithelium of the alimentary canal, the lining of the alimentary canal is acting as accessory respiratory organ. That is why it is known as gut epithelium as an accessory respiratory organ. So, in several fishes, we shall see, in several fishes, epithelial lining of certain parts of the alimentary canal, okay, certain parts, not the whole alimentary canal, certain parts of the alimentary canal become vascular, and the vascular means there means most of that region are rich in blood capillaries. So, when blood capillaries will be more and more, this is known as vascular. So, in several fishes, the epithelial lining of certain parts of the alimentary canal become vascular and modified to serve as a respiratory organ. It may be just behind the stomach. In case of, for example, Mysgorus fossilis, a fish where this vascularity is present just beneath the or just behind the stomach, or intestine, okay, or this is also found in rectum. That means the rectum, the stomach or intestine or intestinal portion may be vascular. Okay. Then how the air will enter? The fresh water, in that cases this fish will swallow, it will take the fresh water, so the fresh air. So, the fresh air is drawn through the mouth or through the anus into the alimentary canal. You just imagine. So what happens? So for example, this is the whole alimentary canal. Okay. So now this region, for example, the stomach region, this is highly vascular. Okay, this is highly vascular. So what happens? When the air will be drawn through the mouth or through the anus, that air will come into this region, and this region will exchange this air. The blood capillaries are present here, so that carbon dioxide is present here. So this is carbon dioxide, and so this is the oxygen, and now carbon dioxide is present here, so that what will happen, the oxygen will enter into the blood capillary and carbon dioxide will come out this region. Okay, again I am giving the detailed structure, so you just imagine, so you just see. So for example, this is the alimentary canal, and this region is vascular, having the blood capillaries, and this region contains carbon dioxide. Now the air is drawn to this alimentary canal. For example, this is oxygen, so oxygen will enter to this area and carbon dioxide will come to this area, so that this carbon dioxide will finally expel to the outside by the cloaca or by the anus. So this is the carbon dioxide. Okay, so this is the method. So what happens? Just I am telling the detail. So fresh air is drawn. Fresh air is drawn through the mouth or anus, and after gaseous exchange, the gas is voided, that means expelled through the anus only. So in this pieces, what happened? Wall of the gut is modified to perform the respiratory function. This one, okay, I have given in this picture. The walls of the gut. So in this case, the walls of the gut in these areas become thin due to the reduction of the muscular layer or muscle layer. So the wall is thin due to the absence of the muscle layer. Instead, there are present mostly the blood capillaries, and this blood capillaries will provide the area for exchange of gases. So this is the what? Gut epithelium as accessory respiratory organ in fishes. So now come to the next one. So outgrowth of the pelvic fin in some fishes. So outgrowth, the next point. So outgrowth of what? The outgrowth of pelvic fins. So this is pelvic. So outgrowth of pelvic fins, pelvic fins. So for example, you see this is a fish. You see this is a fish, and here this is the pectoral fin, and this is the pelvic fin. So this is pectoral. So you know this is the pectoral, as the fin is present near the pectoral girdle. So this is pectoral fin, and this is the pelvic fin. So what happens in these fishes? What happens? The pelvic fin having some outgrowths and reach in blood capillaries and provide the surface for gaseous exchange. In American lungfish, for example, in American lungfish, there is the lepidosiren. During breeding time, breeding season, the pelvic fins of the male become enlarged and grow filamentous vascular outgrowths, which provide fresh oxygen to the guarded eggs. Okay, so this is also one type of device for parental care. Okay, so now come to the next point, fifth one, pharyngeal diverticulum. So this is the pharyngeal diverticulum, pharyngeal diverticulum as the accessory diverticulum. So this is one type of what? Accessory respiratory organ. So what I am telling, I am discussing about different type of accessory respiratory organ in different fishes. So that means either one or two devices are present in what or two specimen. It is not a rule that all should be present in a fish. So these are different devices present in different fishes. Okay. So pharyngeal diverticula or diverticulum, pharyngeal diverticulum are a pair of simple sac-like outgrowth of the pharynx lined by thickened vascular epithelium and extending above the gills. We know the pharyngeal region. For example, you see this is the fish. So this is the for example the mouth, and this is the pharyngeal region, and pharyngeal region possesses the gills, and gills are covered by the upper column. So what I am telling, this pharyngeal region or from the pharyngeal region diverticula, some extension come out. So pharyngeal diverticula or each pharyngeum diverticulum is a what? Simple sac-like outgrowth of the pharynx lined by thickened vascular epithelium and extending above the gills. For example, in case of Chana, the accessory respiratory organs are relatively simple or consist of a pair of simple air chambers. So, this is all about the pharyngeal diverticulum and how they actually develop or how they actually respire. These are developed from pharynx and not from the bronchial chamber. So, I have given the picture here. So, they are developing from the pharynx. So, these are developed from the pharynx and not from the bronchial chambers seen in others. Okay. The air chambers are, in that cases, the air chambers are lined by thickened epithelium which is highly vascularized. The air chambers are simple sac like structure and do not contain any other structure. Okay. So, these chambers function as a lungs or reservoir. In Channa, for example, the vascular epithelium lining the chambers become folded to form some alveoli, some structure known as alveoli. The gill filaments are reduced in size in them. Okay. So, this is all about the pharyngeal diverticulum. So, they are exclusively present in pharyngeal region. So, now some fishes, now the sixth one, some fishes also use the accessory respiratory organ as opercular chamber. That means opercular chamber modified for aerial respiration. So, opercular chamber. Okay. So, you just what you see. So, in case of fishes, gills are there. So, the gills are, so this is opercular chamber. So, in case of fishes, gills are there on both sides. So, these gills are covered by operculum. So, that operculum having some structure, that is known as opercular chamber. Okay. So, in some species, the inhaled air, the air which they take, it passes through the gill slits into the opercular chamber, where it is stored for some time. Okay. The rule is, whenever the water will taken in by or drawn by mouth, it will enter into the gill chamber. So, immediately through the gill chamber or in the gill chamber, the water will remain for some time, and immediately there will be one exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen. Then through the gill, the water will come out. So, this will happen very quickly. But what happens in this case, this water which has to be expelled from the operculum, they will be stored for some time, they will be held for some time. Where it is stored for some time, the opercular chamber become bulged out in the form of two little balloons in the hinder region of the head, and after some times its walls collapse and the air is passed out through the small external bronchial opening. Okay. The membrane lining the opercular chamber at that same time, the membrane lining the opercular chamber become thin and highly vascular to allow the exchange of gases. So, this is seen in periophthalmos and bolophthalmos. Okay. So, these are the opercular chamber modified for aerial respiration. So, now you come to that next one, the seventh one, the bronchial diverticula. The seventh one is bronchial. This is also one device. The seventh one, bronchial. So, this is most important one, bronchial diverticulum, or this is known as diverticula. Okay, diverticula. So, in Indian catfish, for example, Indian catfish, that is Sacobranchus, there is a pair of large air sacs, each arising from the bronchial chamber and extending laterally backwards into the trunk muscle. They can be filled with air for respiration. The catfish, for example, the catfish Clarius, found in Indian and African river, has a pair of suprabronchial organ, each lying in one side. That is above the bronchial sac. This is suprabronchial. They are divided to form, or they are divided into two parts, a highly branched, that is known as arborescent organ. Arborescent, the most important, I shall show you in picture. Arborescent organ, arborescent. So, they are arborescent. So, they are, what happen? So, in case of the catfish, for example, Clarius, what happens? They have pair of suprabronchial organs, you just remember, each lying on one side. Again, they are divided into two parts, the organ is divided into two parts. One, a highly branched arborescent organ formed from second and fourth bronchial arches, and a vascular sac of the bronchial chamber which enclose the aberration organ. Okay. So, this is the structure. So, you see for example, this is the clarios and this is the bronchial chamber. You see this is this one. So, you see this is the organ, that is the air, this is the chamber, and here this is this organ, and this organ is known as aberration organ. So, this is found in this chamber. Okay. So, this is enclosed by this chamber. Okay. So, now this is all about the aberration organ. So, in case of, again this is one type I am telling about, bronchial diverticulum. So, aberration is one type of what? Bronchial diverticulum found in clarios. Now, come to the next one. For example, in Indian climbing perch, they have two spacious suprabronchial cavities as dorsal outgrowth by two gill chamber. Each cavity contains a special organ that is known as labyrinthine. Okay. So, this is the labyrinthine. So, labyrinthine. So, this is known as labyrinthine. So, labyrinthine. So, labyrinthine, this is also organ. So, arborescent is organ. Another one is the labyrinthine. This is also one organ. Formed of much folded concentric bony plates developed from the first epibranchial bone and covered with the vascular mucous membrane. Margin of these plates are wavy and the plates are covered with vascular gill-like epithelium. Okay. So, you just see. So, this is the picture. So, this is the labyrinthine organ. This is found in case of our Indian perch, that is anabas, okay, or climbing perch. Okay. So, now again different type, you see this is the labyrinthine organ, and this is for example also suprabronchial cavity organ. This is also found, you see this is this one, this is also found in clarios. I have told you that aberration organ, this is the aberration organ, this is the labyrinthine organ. Okay. So, these are some structures or these are some diagrams regarding the accessory respiratory organ. So, now come to the last one. The last one is the air bladder. Air bladder. So, air bladder, the air bladder is also the eighth one, air bladder. So, the air bladder is, this is also one type of what? Respiratory organ or accessory respiratory organ. Swim bladder of higher bonifices is essentially a hydrostatic organ, we know, they help in buoyancy, but in lower bonifices, for example dipnoans, gonads, like that, the air bladder acts as lungs. Okay. The wall of the bladder is highly vascular and secular with alveoli, and the in polypterus the swim bladder is more long like, that is just acting as a lung, and gets a pair of pulmonary arteries arising from the last pair of the epibranchial arteries. The swim bladder in dipnoans resembles strikingly the tadpole, what? That is not tadpole but tetrapode lung. Okay. In Neoceratodus it is single butt, in Protopterus and Lepidosiren it is bilobed, what? The air bladder. So, this will act as the what? Accessory respiratory organ. The inner surface of this lung is increased by spongy alveolar structure. In this species, the lung is mainly respiratory in function during aestivation because the gills become useless during this period. Like the polypterus, the lungs of dipnoans get the pulmonary arteries from the last epibranchial arteries. The swim bladder of feather tail Notopterus has a wide pneumatic duct and network of blood capillaries covered by a thin epithelium in its wall. This helps in exchange of gases. So, this is all about the accessory respiratory organ. So, now come to the point, what are the necessary or what is the function of the accessory respiratory organ. The first one, the accessory respiratory organs contain a higher percentage of oxygen. Secondly, the fishes possessing such respiratory organs are capable of living outside the water for some time. Okay. Even they can live where oxygen concentration is very low. Under this condition, these fishes come to the surface of the water to gulp air for transmission to the accessory respiratory organ. The acquisition of accessory respiratory organ. So, this type of acquisition of respiratory organ in case of the fishes is also one adaptive feature. Okay. So, this adaptive feature can help them to make some short excursion from one point to the other point during natural calamities. Okay. Now, come to the last point. So, what is the origin of the accessory respiratory organ? How they have been formed? So during development, the fifth, the most important, the fifth gill arc does not develop gill lamella, and its embryonic gill material forms rudiment of the gill arch and aggregate to form one structure that is known as gill mass. And the air breathing organs or accessory respiratory organs develop from the gill mass, and in some species the gill arches other than the fifth arch also take part in the formation of the accessory respiratory organ. So this is all about the structural aspect of the accessory respiratory organ of fishes. So my dear student, I have covered all detail about the respiratory system of vertebrates. Then I covered the the skin as the respiratory organ, I covered the air section bird, and finally I also covered the accessory respiratory organ in fishes. So this is all about the respiratory organ in vertebrates or tetrapods. Okay, let us conclude the session, and next we shall proceed for the next unit.